All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to do a 2025 watch collection video. It feels like it's customary to make a collection video at the end of every calendar year. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, so this is the watch collection for 2025. As you can see here, we have 11 total watches, 8 of which reside inside of my watch box. If it's inside of my watch box, generally speaking, that means it's more important to me or is of higher value. So I figured I would go ahead and start with the ones on the outside and work my way back in. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so first up here is the Casio A700. In my opinion, this is the best value retro-inspired watch that money can buy. It's only $30 and has all of the form and functionality of your classic Casio F91W, except for the fact that it has an extra cool factor with a retro-inspired design that is really, really awesome. It obviously has the fun colors at the top of the screen and a really nice stainless steel bracelet that does not nip any hairs. I will say the case is not stainless steel. It is a plastic that looks stainless steel, but it's a very comfortable watch. And I think the watch world really in general over the past 5 to 10 years has been going crazy with retro re-releases and sort of vintage inspired watches. So if you're someone who's interested in that world, why not start with this for the low price of $30? Next up here is the Casio G-Shock GWM5610. I made a video on this watch recently where I called it the GOAT Casio. I know that might sound hyperbolic to say it's the greatest ever, but to be honest, it is an awesome value. For just $100, you have all of the form and function of a classic G-Shock 5600, but you also have multi-band 6 functionality, and it is tough solar, so it is solar powered. In my opinion, we live in a world where we are overly connected to technology, so to have a G-Shock that is technologically advanced without being over the top and connecting to your phone, that is a huge positive, and I really think this is the sweet spot for G-Shocks. I can't recommend this watch enough. I've had it for 5 or 6 years now and wear it all the time. It's an awesome piece. Next up here, another G-Shock, the Casio G-Shock GBD200. And this watch was actually my first exposure to a couple of different things with modern G-Shock. Number one, the modern screen, which is really, really nice. I gotta say, it is a very hyper legible screen, and also my first exposure to G-Shocks that connect to Bluetooth. I know with the last G-Shock I showed, I praised it for not being able to connect to your phone and kind of help you be more separated from technology. But I gotta say, it is nice to have at least one watch that is a quote unquote smartwatch. I use that in air quotes because this isn't really a smartwatch, but it does, like I said, connect to Bluetooth. It gives you notifications and text messages and has a couple other cool fitness features as well. So really, really awesome watch. Really like this as part of my collection and kind of my only piece that lets me dip my toes in the smartwatch waters without really going overboard. So highly recommend the Casio GBD200. So next up here is the Omega Deville reference 191.0077. This actually was my first ever watch, and I've talked about this watch in previous videos and previous collections, but basically the story goes that I was given this watch by my grandmother, and it was actually my great-grandfather's watch originally that he was given for his birthday. And ever since receiving this watch and looking up Omega and their history and their exploits as a brand, and kind of just going from there and looking up more about watches and kind of diving deeper, that's how this whole thing started. And ever since then, the train is off the rails and I'm officially a watch addict, and this is my life now. So very grateful for this piece, not only to have had it start this hobby, but also because it is such an awesome watch. It is a quartz Omega Deville, as you can see here. It has a really cool pusher to change the time instead of a traditional crown. I thought that was kind of an error or something wrong with the watch originally, but that is how it was intended. I have it on a really nice deluxe leather strap here with their new deployant that is spring-loaded. Highly recommend this spring-loaded deployant. This isn't sponsored or anything like that. I just really like it. Definitely adds a premium feel. And yeah, so really grateful for this, the Omega Deville reference 191.0077. So from my first ever watch to my favorite watch, this is the Rolex Explorer reference 124270. And really ever since I got into the hobby of watch collecting, I quickly became a big fan of the Rolex Explorer. It kind of fit everything I wanted in a watch. I always liked no date watches that could go anywhere and do anything. And were just so rugged and beautiful at the same time, and I think the Rolex Explorer really embodies that. I originally had a reference 114270, which is the slightly older reference in 36 millimeters that has solid end links, but that older style clasp. But to be honest, I really wanted to upgrade to the newer clasp. I wanted the newer movement as well, and so a couple of years ago I upgraded to this, again, the 124270. This is definitely my most worn watch of all time. I wear it almost every day. It is definitely the main watch that gets wrist time, and I'm so grateful to have it. And yeah, I have no plans of this watch leaving my collection anytime soon. So next up here is my newest purchase and my newest addition to the collection. This is the Omega Seamaster 1948 limited edition. Now, ever since I found out about this watch, I always really enjoyed it and wanted to add it to my collection. But more recently, I was looking for a piece that would complement my Rolex Explorer, kind of have a similar vibe in terms of it being a go anywhere, do anything type of watch, a watch that kind of fit my personal design language that I enjoyed. So, you know, having no date, having it be very simple, basically no complications. And to me, this watch really filled that void and really fit, I think, nicely with the Rolex Explorer. I think it kind of does everything the Rolex Explorer does, except for it leans dressier, whereas the Explorer leans sportier. So I'm really, really happy with this watch. I'm in the honeymoon phase right now with it. Obviously, I'm going to enjoy it basically no matter what at this stage, but I really think this watch will be a part of the collection for a very, very long time. Yeah, like I said, it's just a spectacular piece. It's got some really awesome detailing with the beautiful dial, with the white gold indices. It's just a stunning piece, and like I said, I think it really fits the collection and fits with the Explorer in particular very well. Next up here, old reliable, this is the Casio Duro. And I gotta say, if I were to recommend one watch as a first watch to a new collector, this is the watch I would recommend. A bang-on accurate quartz movement, 200 meters of water resistance, dive bezel, true dive watch for 50 bucks. You just can't beat it. It is a spectacular piece. And you know what? Even beyond this being a great entry-level first watch, I think it does fit into pretty much any collection. I obviously have a plethora of different watches of different price points, and this watch gets a lot of wrist time. It just can't be beat. Like I said, if you want a watch that you can just rely on, that's gonna provide really nice value, this is the one to grab. Next up here is my Seiko 7N43. Now, this on the surface may seem like a very random Rolex homage from Seiko from way back in the day, and you'd be correct. This watch dates to the 1970s and is very much a Rolex Datejust homage. You can see the fluted bezel, the Jubilee bracelet. It's classic Rolex, but it's not Rolex, of course. And despite some people having some problems with homage watches, this watch to me is extremely special because this was my grandfather's watch, and it was the watch that he wore for most of his life. I was very fortunate to inherit this watch, and I gotta say, I love it. It personally scratches that itch for a Rolex Datejust without having to, of course, make that big purchase. And to me, again, it's more meaningful because it was my grandfather's. So I love this watch. I love wearing it every once in a while. And you know what? It's probably more accurate than your standard Rolex, right? With its awesome quartz movement. It has a day and a date function as opposed to just a date. So I find my little reasons to love this watch more than a Rolex Datejust, and again, it'll always be more meaningful to me than any random Rolex Datejust. Next up here is another watch that I inherited from my grandfather. This is the Raymond Weil Tango, reference 5500. I think this watch is very, very cool. It obviously has a really nice, rich sunburst effect blue dial. You have that porthole style bezel, almost AP Royal Oak-esque. I gotta say, I mean, maybe that's pushing it a bit, but I think it does kind of give off that nautical porthole vibe. Has a really nice Jubilee kind of inspired bracelet, and it feels pretty hefty for a quartz, very thin watch. So very grateful to have this. I think anytime you can inherit something from a grandparent or a family member or anyone, it's obviously special. And again, to me, this is very, very cool. Next up here is my 1969 Hamilton Fontaine Blue. Another watch that came from a family member that I'm very, very fortunate to have. And really, I think this is one of the better examples of how unique vintage watches can get. I really don't think you're gonna find a watch that came out in 2025 that looks anything like this. I love the unique case shape. I love the sunburst silvery dial. I truly think this is a super unique watch, and a watch I would definitely recommend taking a look for on the vintage market. I mean, these watches go for like $100 to $200. So to me, that's an absolute steal to get a big name brand on the dial and have something kind of be funkier and different. I wear this watch to wear something different and to kind of, change it up from, the normal types of watches I've been wearing over a long period of time. And yeah, I really, really like this watch. Also, if you're curious, they do have a chronograph version that is very, very cool as well. That will of course run you, an extra $1,000 or $2,000, but yeah, really unique case shape, really unique watch, and really happy to have this watch in my collection as well. Last but not least, this is a Bulova tank with a 23 jewel manual winding movement. Now, I don't know a ton else about this watch other than what I just stated about it, to be honest with you. There's no real reference numbers or anything that would indicate more information about this watch. It seems to be kind of just a random Bulova tank example from the 50s, 60s maybe, but I love it. Another watch that was given from a family member. I feel like I've said that a lot of times in this video, which just shows you how lucky I am to have so many awesome and cool, unique watches from relatives. And yeah, this is another really great example. I love the small seconds at the 6 o'clock. Love that it kind of has a crosshair pattern and it's not a traditional circular subdial. Just adds to it being unique and different. This watch definitely needs a service, and maybe I'll get it done at some point in 2026. But for now, it's just one that I pick up, wind up, and wear it, every so often. But that's pretty much it for this video. That is my 2025 watch collection. If you enjoyed, I would really appreciate it if you can give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more watch content. And also let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of my collection and what do you think the collection needs. Don't be afraid to offend me. I am very curious to see what you guys have to say. I love any feedback you have, and I love interacting with you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.